All right, good morning. Here we are with a couple of the little puppies here hanging out in the kitchen because they know I'm going to be prepping food today. What they don't know though is that this first video is going to be what I use when I actually make the dog food. So I've had a lot of people ask if grinders are required, what do I use to chop up meat, all that kind of stuff. So I do have a grinder, it's right here. When I do the bones and stuff, I will use the current one that's in there. I use for the meat because I don't really like it to be too mushy. And then when I move over to the bone, I start with this one right here just so my meat grinder doesn't give up on me. And then I'll switch over to the smaller one. Just because, as you can see, I do have fairly little dogs. So the ground bone usually, in their food at least, will be better for them. And this is Cash right here. I refer to it as Cash's corner because when I'm hanging out and doing food, that's where he stays. All these guys are usually all underfoot. So I have the meat grinder. I do that. Use a plastic cutting board because I do so much meat and chicken and all that kind of stuff. Any type of wood is going to typically absorb some of those juices. So I try to stay away from those. Sharp knife. Sharp knife is a must because of all the bones and stuff that I do end up cutting through when I'm preparing food. I have an Instapot, and of course everybody's going, well, if you don't cook your food, why do you have an Instapot? Well, because frankly, I do make bone broth. So with all the bones that I have left over, the dogs get the bone broth, us humans get the bone broth, and I'm not above stealing from them when I run out. The food processor isn't a requirement. I got this one recently just because I was going through so many vegetables and stuff, putting them in their food, that it just made more sense to drop them in there after I cooked them, hit a button for about 5 or 6 seconds and pull them out, and poof, I have the vegetables for their mix. For sanitizing before and after, I actually started out with these Purell surface sanitizing wipes. I would clean the kitchen, wipe everything down with soap and water, and then sanitize with these. Turns out, when you compare it with this, it's actually fairly expensive. So I got this bottle right here. I've probably had it for a year now, and it's not even half gone. So my recommendation would be this one for sanitizing after you get done prepping all your food. Not just when you do your dog food, but probably when you do your own food as well, if you're doing meat. I have my stainless steel bowls that I'm going to be putting the chicken and stuff in. Once I put it in the bowls, they usually go back in the freezer until I'm ready to pull them out. You want to keep your meat as cold as possible while you're doing this. So I also wear gloves. So anybody that sees me wearing a glove on my left hand goes, well, clearly she thinks the chicken's going to be harmful. It's not why. It's because the chicken will actually make your hands go numb well before you get through all the chicken that I end up prepping. Back here I have my food sealer, all my bags and stuff that go with it. I do food seal most of my food as I do it. The ones that I'm going to be using within the first, I'd say, 2 weeks will go in the freezer in just regular Ziploc bags. I don't see any point in wasting the freezer bags for the vacuum sealer, where I'm just going to be opening it here in a couple of days. And then I have the scale, because anytime you're making your own dog food, believe it or not, it's not actually a recipe that you're following. You're following your basic either 70, 10, 10, 10 if you're going with the BARF formula, or your 80, 10, and 10 if you're going PMR. Now, personally, I kind of tend to go back and forth. So on occasion, I'll have a PMR mix, and then I might add a few extras into it. And then there's other days where you guys have seen my posts where I literally throw everything in the kitchen sink, mix it up, and the dogs have almost instant meals, and my life is just so much easier. So here's a couple more. Oh, he's sitting here waiting patiently for his food. He's like, Mom, get off the camera. So that is father and son over there. The puppies that you're seeing, the little itty bitty ones, they're just now turning 8 weeks and 100% on a raw diet. So there you have it. There's the utensils and stuff that I'm going to be using. I'm going to post this first, and then if you continue to watch the post throughout the day or follow me on YouTube, I will end up posting the entire prep session for today.